Hello. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. We've got so much to get to this morning. I do want to get to Elon Musk giving this Nazi salute. I'm going to bring you the truth here, folks, because unfortunately, CNN, they claimed that Elon gave this Nazi salute and it has taken social media by storm. So most likely you're believing that Elon Musk actually gave a Nazi salute after the inaugural address, the inauguration at this rally. And look, folks, remember, don't forget, the leftists did this to a Bloomington Normal resident. Okay, they did this to a Bloomington resident. He was accused. He attended a school board meeting. He raised his hand, and then they accused him of the exact same thing. This is nothing new. It's straight up out of the leftist playbook. They do it all of the time. They quite literally are looking for anybody to raise their hand. I'm actually going to throw up on my social media page. I screenshotted Kamala Harris giving, I'm not going to say a Nazi salute. She was waving to the crowd, and it looks almost identical to the way Elon Musk waved to the crowd. And we can use context clues here. Let's put on our big girl brains and our big boy brains, okay? He told the crowd, "My heart goes out to you." He grabbed his heart and then he threw it out to the crowd. And for those of you who don't know, Elon Musk is probably very much on the spectrum, by the way, autistic. The way he talks in interviews, it's very clear that he is on the spectrum. I mean, the guy's a genius. There's no way he's not on the spectrum, right? Joe, so I want to get to that, but I also want to get to Joe Biden and his preemptive pardons. See, they're distracting. I told you yesterday, things that Donald Trump has to do is not get distracted. They're going to throw out these distractions. Elon Musk giving a Nazi salute. They're also talking about how Donald Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible when he was sworn in yesterday. Look, folks, there's probably several reasons as to why Donald Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible. Number one, they were running behind. I think he was actually sworn in at 12:04. He was supposed to be sworn in at 12, but they were running really, really behind, and they were rushing. And Melania, who was supposed to, get the Bible, she wasn't even there prior to him getting sworn in. Okay, so it was all very rushed, probably intentional. They wanted to rush Donald Trump through his swearing in because they're peeved off that he's actually the president now and that he won. So they were probably intentionally rushing him, and Melania didn't even get there really in time prior to him starting the oath to put his hand on the Bible. Number one. Number two, maybe it was a Secret Service thing. Maybe they said, "Hey, President Trump, please do not put your hand on the Bible. We're going to, it could possibly have something on it, an assassination attempt." I mean, the guy has survived 2 assassination attempts. If it were me, I wouldn't put my hand on the Bible, being that, I don't know where it's been. If I didn't know where it's been, who had it last, right? It might have been a Secret Service intentional, and the Secret Service did that intentionally. So there's just so many distractions. Donald Trump can't get distracted. He needs to focus on the economy. He needs to focus on mass deportations. He needs to focus on elections and getting those restored so we can have faith in our elections again. So there's so much he has to focus on. All of these stupid little distractions that the media comes up with, not really worth his time. We'll talk about it today because there's a lot of misinformation spouted by really CNN, ABC, NBC, the 3-letter news outlets. So I'm going to help you out. I also want to get to Joe Biden's preemptive pardons. Now, this is actual news, okay? The preemptive pardons here for Anthony Fauci, Liz Cheney, Mark Milley. General Mark Milley. So we're going to get to those and so much more here on Conservative Cat. Find me on YouTube and Facebook. Find me on Rumble. And you can subscribe to the channel. All right. Now, I do want to get to Joe Biden. In the 11th hour, he decided to pardon a bunch of bureaucrats and a bunch of officials. And this is hilarious because I always say this: the left doesn't have standards. All they have is double standards. If the left has standards, it's just double standards. Okay. So this senile joke of a president, what he did in the 11th hour, he gave pardons to a bunch of bureaucrats, a bunch of officials. And get this, the Justice Department, the Biden Justice Department, not the current Justice Department, woohoo, the Donald Trump DOJ, the current Justice Department, they sent out a message last week to the January 6th defendants saying that accepting a pardon from Donald Trump is a confession of guilt for your crimes. Okay, so I wonder if that same message applies to those accepting a pardon from Joe Biden. That is a confession of guilt for your crimes. Okay, so quote, this is what the DOJ said. They said a pardon at some unspecified date in the future would not unring the bell of conviction. Federal prosecutors argued in a January 6th case before the U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols. In fact, quite the opposite. The defendant would first have to accept the pardon, which necessitates a confession of guilt. Okay, so they're saying that J6ers who accept a pardon from President Donald Trump, which he is doing, I don't know if he's done it yet. I got to look that up. He's done so much within this last day. I don't even know where to begin. We've withdrawn from the World Health Organization. The CBP1 app, we'll get to that. He shut that down like literally within minutes of being sworn in. There's so much Trump has already done. I'm pretty sure Gulf of America is a thing. He signed an executive order officially making it the Gulf of America. So we're going to get to everything that Trump has done, at least a little bit of what Trump has done. It's hard to cover all of it. 200 executive orders yesterday. But I want to get to this. The New York Post, this is what they said. Some of the beneficiaries of Biden's wide-ranging pardons include truth-challenged former chief medical advisor Dr. Tony Fauci, embattled retired General Mark Milley, and members of the House committee that investigated the J6 attack on the Capitol, including Liz Cheney. We know Adam Kinzinger is on that list. He's those House members. I love how Donald Trump yesterday, he goes, all I see Adam do is cry. That's literally all I see Adam do. That's what Donald Trump says. He goes, every time I look at this guy, he's crying. And he goes, he used to be for me, but he's not for me anymore because I'm against the wars. And he goes, it's kind of funny, as soon as you start to talk out about war, how many people, jump out of the boat. So, Adam Kinzinger, he stopped supporting President Donald Trump. He stopped supporting Republicans because they became the anti-war party. So here it is, quote, here's what Joe Biden said about his pardons. He said, I believe in the rule of law. I am optimistic that the strength of our legal institutions will ultimately prevail over politics, he said in a statement. But these are exceptional circumstances, and I cannot, in good conscience, do nothing. Okay, so the lack of self-awareness here that he's got is intentional at this point. He basically said he fears Donald Trump's administration, echoing the actions of mocking the legal system in a third world-like fashion, which is what he did, by the way. Okay, so he lacks this self-awareness that he actually did this. The reason why nobody trusts the legal institutions and the reason why you have doubts. Okay, so he says, I'm optimistic, but obviously he has doubts that the legal institutions will prevail over politics. The reason there is doubt is because we've seen the legal institutions not prevail over politics in the case of Donald Trump being attacked in the legal institutions with the legal institutions and the justice system in a third world-like fashion. Okay, I've never seen this in America before. Nobody's ever seen this in America before. This is a third world legal system, justice system, and you have President Joe Biden, or at least the puppeteers, to thank for that. Let's take a listen here. This is Nick Freitas, or I think is his name. He's real popular on social media. This is a great point that he makes here. Take a listen.
Well, Joe Biden has preemptively pardoned Anthony Fauci, which effectively shields him from any real federal prosecution or sentencing. Federal, not state, though. Well,
federal, not state, though. So yes, the state of Illinois, which I doubt will happen, but we could try, the state of Illinois or any other state, we could bring some sort of lawsuit against Tony Fauci, and he's not shielded from that, or state prosecution. He's not shielded from that because the pardon only extends to federal prosecution. So perhaps some states could start to prosecute Tony Fauci, okay? This is a very good point. Joe Biden, he applauded the nation's dedicated, selfless public servants. That's what he's calling Tony Fauci, General Milley, and Liz Cheney, okay? But he noted that they've been subjected to, quote, ongoing threats and intimidation for faithfully discharging their duties. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Quote, in certain cases, some have been threatened with criminal prosecutions, including General Mark Milley, Tony Fauci, and members of and staff of the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. This is what the former President Joe Biden, gosh, it feels so good to say, former President Joe Biden said. So look, if Fauci did nothing wrong, why does he need a pardon from criminal prosecution? Okay, if he did nothing wrong, and he says that they're all public servants, if all of these people did nothing wrong, why in the hell would they need a pardon from criminal prosecution? Tony Fauci is responsible for destroying lives during the pandemics. This includes loss of learning for many of the nation's children. The fact that you and I were talking about treatments that were far more effective, and Tony Fauci was pushing, the chief medical advisor was pushing things like the vaccine, when we knew that ivermectin and monoclonal antibodies and natural immunity were the best way to get over the virus and treat the virus. And those were the best things against the virus. I mean, we know this now. This isn't even up for debate. And he's going to get away with all of it. He's going to get away with the learning loss of our nation's children. And this is a slap in the face to all Americans. Americans want to see Tony Fauci prosecuted. We want to see him prosecuted. He's not a public servant, okay? These public servants, this is what Joe Biden said, have served our nation with honor and distinction and do not deserve to be targets of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions. Oh, boy. Well, let me give you a little quick flashback here. This is Chuck Schumer. There was talk of Donald Trump possibly issuing some preemptive pardons. I don't believe that he did. I'd have to fact check myself on that, but there was talk that he was going to. And then Chuck Schumer got onto the House or onto the Senate floor and talked about how that would be a gross abuse of his authority. Don't believe me? Take a listen. Here we go.
The president seems intent on filling each of his remaining days in office with petulance, grievance, self-interest. The president's reportedly asking his staff about whether he can whether he can issue. President's reportedly asking his staff whether he can issue preemptive pardons for himself, his family members, Rudy Giuliani. There's a simple answer: no. No, Mr. President, that would be a gross abuse of the presidential pardon authority. The president seems intent on filling each of his remaining days in office with.
So we all know that Donald Trump did not preemptively pardon himself. Obviously, he went through politically motivated prosecutions. This is exactly what I've been saying all along. The only standards the left has are double standards. These people don't care about being fair. They don't care about equal protection under the law, upholding equal justice under the law, so long as it doesn't get in the way of their deranged agenda. But this sucks for them, really, because it's things like this, the preemptive pardons, it's Chuck Schumer speaking out of both sides of his mouth, things like this, which are going to continue their losing streak. Okay, you think that you're being smart? You think that, issuing these preemptive pardons was a good idea for the party, was a good idea for Democrats? Give me a break. Come on. You're going to continue losing and losing big. I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Yeah, the only standards, I don't believe Trump even issued a preemptive pardon. I've got to double check, but I don't think he issued a single one. And it's probably because Chuck Schumer and many who were advising President Trump at the time, they said that he couldn't do it. Okay, so if we were to apply Chuck Schumer's own words to President President Joe Biden, former President Joe Biden. Gosh, that feels so good to say. How great does that feel to say out loud? Former President Joe Biden. To me, he's always kind of been the former president, or he's always been the former vice president. I've never really liked calling Joe Biden the president. Number one, he didn't win the 2020 election freely and fairly. Number two, I like to respect the office of the presidency. It's a highly esteemed office, and it should be respected. And the fact that we had a senile joke in there, yeah, it made me not want to call him President Joe Biden ever. But I'm going to be right back. We're going to be talking a little bit about Elon Musk and this Nazi salute. This is hilarious, folks, because this is straight up out of the leftist playbook. They did this to a man in Bloomington. They ruined his life. They tried to call his employer. This is like a form of doxing. If you're going to call somebody's employer and try to get them fired, like, that's not cool. And leftists do this all of the time. And, he was at a school board meeting. He raised his hand. And unfortunately, there were some extreme leftists there in the crowd, and they weren't even like sitting with the rest of the people. They were in the back, and they had their drums and everything like that at a school board meeting. Okay. These people are children. And they had the drums, and they were screaming, Nazi salute, Nazi, 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 right? And they're doing the same exact thing to Elon Musk. They do this every single time. And I have this screenshot that I actually want to share with you. This is hilarious. Nobody ever talks about, of course, Kamala Harris and the way this picture, this was captured. It's Kamala Harris, and she looks to be doing something very similar that Elon Musk did just the other day. Kamala Harris at her rally, she raised up her hand, and it looked very similar to a Nazi salute. Take a look at this. What do you guys think? Nazi salute? I don't know. I would say that Kamala Harris's little salute there looks more Nazi-esque than Elon Musk. And when we use our big girl brains and our big boy brains, we can use context clues here. Elon Musk, number one, he's a little bit off. I'd say like almost autistic. Okay, so his like social cues and like his mannerisms all kind of are interesting to watch because he doesn't pick up on normal social cues, I don't think. I believe he's on the spectrum, definitely. But he is, before this like picture was taken, he says, "My heart goes out to you." And he goes like this. Okay. And let's use the context clues. Nobody has ever accused Kamala Harris when she's waving to the crowd of doing a Nazi salute. Okay, they're doing it to Elon Musk because really what they're trying to do, and like I said, they're going to do this, they're going to try to distract Donald Trump from the mission. We have to act as if we've lost Congress already for 2026 and Hakeem Jeffries is the House Speaker. Okay, we have to act like that. And we have to not be distracted by these kinds of things. At least, I'm going to provide you the information and warn you, hey, this is a distraction. We have to act like we've lost Congress in 2026. Trump has 2 years to get as much done as possible with in the face of Democrats and the media. That is going to be an uphill battle because they are going to be salivating at things like this, and they're going to continue to keep this kind of stuff in the media, and they're going to try to get him to comment on this stuff, but we cannot lose momentum. What we need to do is we need to act as if Hakeem Jeffries is the House Speaker in 2026, and we have got to try to focus on the big ticket items, which is the economy, energy, reforming these three-letter agencies, the FDA, the FBI, the CDC, all of these agencies. We have to reform them, gut them, and then we have to, of course, carry out our mass deportations. And I don't want Donald Trump to take the bait. They're going to call him a Nazi. They're going to do things like this to Elon Musk and to people of his cabinet and people within his administration. And the journalism industrial complex, as I like to call them, they will go out of their way to distract Donald Trump from the important issues, the economy, the border. Really, they're trying to do a distraction here with this, I think, to avoid coverage of Joe Biden's preemptive pardons. That is the major news that came out of these last couple of days. And they should be reporting on that, especially considering Joe Biden's own DOJ said that if J6ers accept these pardons, then that means you're guilty, or you are accepting that you're guilty if you accept the pardon. So if, of course, Liz Cheney, Tony Fauci, Mark Milley, they accept these pardons, these preemptive pardons, then that insinuates guilt and that you are guilty. Okay, so you can't have double standards here, Joe. When you say that to the J6ers, that also means Mark Milley, Liz Cheney, Tony Fauci, they're also guilty if they accept this pardon. Also, another thing that we need to do is set up J.D. Vance to carry on Trump's legacy. It's kind of hilarious. The Democrats have no clear leader right now, and that is also big news that they're trying to distract you from, which is why they're coming out with stories like this, and the fact that Trump didn't have his hand on the Bible, those types of stories. They're coming out with that because they want to distract from the fact that they have no clear leader right now. I'm back. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Yes, I want to get to some highlights from the inauguration yesterday. I watched it. We had a live stream going, and I commented and did kind of like a play-by-play. The main thing that I took away from it is that Donald Trump did not hold back. He went out there in his inaugural address, and he came out swinging. He came out swinging. Before I took the break, I was telling you about the preemptive pardons. Chuck Schumer, saying that, that would be a gross abuse of presidential authority, pardon authority. He said this of Donald Trump when he was thinking about doing preemptive pardons for him and his family, which he should have done, by the way. I don't know why he didn't, but he listened to these people back in 2020 before he left office. And it's really unfortunate because Donald Trump wouldn't have gone through all of these politically motivated prosecutions had he preemptively pardoned himself, but he didn't because he was advised not to. Chuck Schumer was out there saying it would be a gross abuse of presidential power, all of this. So he's not saying the same thing about Joe Biden. Like I said, the left, the only standards that they've got are double standards. Let's take a listen to this. This is from the inauguration yesterday. Donald Trump is officially your president. It's finally time to make America great again. Take a listen. Here we go.
Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Woohoo! It's time to make America great again. President Donald Trump is officially now your 47th president. We can officially say from this moment on, America's decline is over. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over.
America's decline is over. And he said, the American people have been betrayed, and that betrayal is over. It's time to make America wealthy again. Let the mass deportations begin. I am so excited. I think that they're going to be carried out here probably in Chicago. This is probably going to be one of the first states Tom Homan targets for the illegal immigration issue. It's unclear what would have happened had Donald Trump not won the election, had he lost, but it's doubtful America would have survived another 4 years, especially when it comes to the immigration issue. We're already seeing terrorist attacks. We're already seeing unrest. Okay, look at the Colorado apartments where you've got people holding up apartments and taking them as I mean, like, quite literally, I call them sleeper cells, where at any moment they could get word from their home country, hey, destroy America, and they'll destroy America, and these sleeper cells will awaken. So Trump would have not come this far had it not been for the left's open border policies, I think, because that was a number one issue. And he did say that in his post-inaugural speech at this rally that he gave afterwards. He said, yeah, it was the number one issue. He goes, inflation, yes, but the open border policies that gave foreign nationals special rights over you, and you effectively became a second-class citizen in your own country. That was a number one issue during the campaign. Thus, his first action is declaring a national emergency at the southern border. Take a listen to this. You'll like this. Here we go.
First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
Okay, so he gets a standing ovation for saying that he's declaring a national emergency at the southern border.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. First.
Okay, so one thing that we need to note is that the alien invasion has stopped because of the CBP One app being shut down. I'm going to get to that here in just a second, but it's about time someone ended the alien invasion, don't you think? So many Americans have succumbed to these reprehensible policies. So many Americans have died. I talked extensively about Emma Schaefer of Springfield, how she, a DACA recipient who was supposed to be deported but wasn't deported under Joe Biden's DHS, he was supposed to be deported after he had kidnapped a separate girl, Emma Schaefer, but Katie O'Brien. They both had to suffer due to this person, and he was a DACA recipient, okay? Not even somebody who entered the country, I guess, through an illegal port of entry. Well, I guess maybe he was like an anchor baby. That's what DACA kind of is. It's like anchor babies, but he wasn't supposed to be here, period. And unfortunately, two women, one woman didn't come out with her life. Another woman was traumatized by his actions. Okay, Laken Riley, another woman who was directly affected, actually lost her life due to these reprehensible open border policies. Also, it's great to note my favorite part of the inauguration, and I'm doing highlights for you folks. If you didn't catch it yesterday, my favorite part of the inauguration was, of course, Joe Biden has, there has been an assault on biological facts, and his assault on these biological facts is coming to an end because Trump's official policy of the United States is to recognize that there are only two genders. Take a listen to this clip from the inauguration. Here we go.
Policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Another standing ovation for that. So the national emergency at the southern border got a standing ovation. So did saying, hey, the official policy of the United States. It's kind of sad that we've gotten to this point where the culture war has gotten so insane, where we need a policy to say, hey, there are only two genders. While it needed to be done, it's kind of unsettling that it did need to be done, right? You know what I mean? It's a little unsettling that we're at this point in America. But I do want to end with this. I really enjoyed listening to Carrie Underwood. In fact, she went a cappella after the soundtrack didn't turn on. She was supposed to sing along with the soundtrack, but it didn't turn on. And, you know, I think that this was definitely intervention from God. She's a very godly woman, and God thought that, hey, you know, it's going to sound much better a cappella anyway, Carrie. Take it away and take a listen to this. This is good.
You know the words, help me out here. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
As you know, the best is yet to come. That was absolutely incredible. And the fact that the music got cut off and everybody was, you know, joined in and sang with her, I definitely think that was a God moment. Incredible. And I've always liked Carrie Underwood more than Taylor Swift. Growing up, I wore out my Carrie Underwood CD. And I was not into Taylor Swift because her music just wasn't good and it wasn't meaningful. Well, I've always been big on lyrics, and her lyrics, you know, Jesus Take the Wheel, Blown Away. There's just so many good songs that she's got, and Taylor Swift songs are all about boys, and I just could never relate to them as, you know, a young teenager. I was just never really into that. I was a tomboy and wasn't really into boys, you know, all that much. So I really related to Carrie Underwood's music far more. And she's just a better singer overall. So I got to take a quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Yes, my favorite part of the inauguration was Melania's hat. That was an amazing hat. I really did like the hat Melania was wearing. She definitely had a different appearance, and I don't know if you've noticed, but Donald Trump had a purple tie on. That was very intentional. He wants to bring the party. He says, "I want to be a unifier." That's what he said in his inaugural address. He was wearing a purple tie, but she was wearing, like, if I had to say it, like, it was almost like mafia style clothing. Like, she is out for blood, I think, and she is not happy that somebody took shots at her husband, and we still don't know much about that assassin, Thomas Crooks. And I think that her wardrobe choices were very intentional, much like Donald Trump's. Donald Trump did not wear a red tie. He wore, now the first inauguration, she, you know, wore this very beautiful blue dress, very baby blue, very soft, very feminine. Now she's wearing this, and it's very, like, badass, to, you know, put it lightly, but really it almost gives me like mafia boss vibes. Like, hang on, like, it really did give me mafia boss vibes. Like, here, hold on, let's look at this. You guys will like this. I just pulled this up from, like, Google, like, this image, like, very much mafia boss. Like, she's pissed. I would be pissed. I would not even want my husband to do this again, and most likely they had that conversation. I don't know, but here we go. Like, come on, tell me with a straight face that that does not look like Melania at the inauguration. Like, straight up just badass, like, I am like out for blood and I am pissed that they took shots at my husband. And then you compare and contrast her and Donald Trump's outfit. I think that they both wanted to send very clear messages with their wardrobes on Inauguration Day, and they definitely did. Melania was not her, very feminine self. It was very gangsta, as Brian says. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. She looked like a gangsta, and she is coming in, and she's going to get to the bottom of it now that she has the White House at her disposal. I think that we're going to see Melania like a dog with a bone, with this assassination attempt that happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. I would want to know, right? If you have a significant other, the number one thing that you're doing is trying to figure out who this assassin is and why he did it and who was all behind it, because we know he couldn't have possibly acted alone. We know how egregious all of that was. How did he get up on the roof? Everybody saw him. Everybody pointed him out. Nobody got him down off of that roof. And it's really weird, like his family, right? I mean, he hadn't been home, I think, in a couple of days. There's just so much to this, and he has loose ties to BlackRock. I think that she wants to get down to the bottom of who assassinated her husband. I also, there is this distraction out there. We're going to get to the Elon Musk distraction. They're calling him a Nazi because he, said, "My heart goes out to you," and then he went like this. Which is absolutely ridiculous. We know, we've had it here happen locally. There was a Bloomington resident who showed up to a school board meeting. They kept telling him to put on a mask, put on a mask, put on a mask, which we now know it's so hilarious that the masks were ineffective. And that's not me saying it. It's Tony Fauci who said that. They were ineffective against the spread of COVID-19. They did nothing to stop the spread of COVID-19. You should know that the little boxes with the surgical masks, it says, does not stop the spread of respiratory viruses or illnesses. Really what masks are designed to do is to keep bodily fluids, like a nurse's spit, going into open wounds. Okay, that is what nurses do when they put on the mask. That's what it's for. The masks originally, they were never intended to stop the transmission of viruses or anything like that. It makes absolutely no sense, or to wear them for prolonged use, because it's bad for you. There's bacteria that gets in there, and it's not intended for use like that. It's intended for nurses to use, so that way they don't get their bodily fluids into open wounds when they're dealing with open wounds. Okay, so and that's why, prior to COVID-19, you never really saw nurses, doctors wearing those things like in a prolonged fashion. They would, wear them if like they're operating, or they'd wear them if you come in with a scraped knee and they're checking it out. They would never actually wear them for long periods of time or during an entire shift. And yeah, that's just facts. Okay, so this guy, he was continuously told by the school board. I was at the school board meeting, and it was really unsettling, uncomfortable for me. This was probably the worst school board meeting I've ever attended. It was like so uncomfortable. They kept yelling at him to put on a mask, and he goes, "Fine, I'll do it." And then he puts on his mask and he goes like this, like he already put on the mask. And they said that him raising his hand was a Nazi salute. So this is nothing new. This is straight up out of the leftist playbook. They pull it out all of the time. Good morning. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat on the stream. Somebody said that Melania's hat was so gangsta, and it was my favorite part of the inauguration. It was one of my favorite parts too, and I think that her and Donald Trump's wardrobe choice. So he was wearing a purple tie, which I think was very intentional. He said in his inaugural address that he wants to be a unifier, so he didn't choose a red tie or a blue tie. He chose a purple tie, so he wants to unify the country, red and blue. Melania, she, in comparison to the last inauguration, Trump's inauguration in 2016, that inauguration, she was wearing this baby blue dress, very, very feminine, very pretty. Now, I loved her outfit. It was very gangsta, and I think that she was very intentional with her wardrobe. Melania, at this point, I think she's really peeved off about her husband getting shot at. And we don't know anything about that assassin, Thomas Crooks. We don't know if he was working alone. We don't know what his motivation was. We know very, very little about that assassin. And I think that with the power of the White House behind her, she's going to get to the bottom of that. And that's probably going to be her task, because I don't know about you ladies, you would probably want to know, and men, you would want to know who took shots at your spouse and why. So she was no longer, I'm not going to wear this cutesy little dress. I am straight up going to Al Capone this. And I'm going to look like Al Capone. That's when I saw her, I was like, okay, she straight up looks like Al Capone. Now, let's get to Elon Musk. A lot of people, they're, got these distractions going on in the media, how Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible, which was just ridiculous because they were rushing him, and Melania didn't get there prior to him starting the oath with the Bible. And not to mention, it might have even been a Secret Service thing. Hey, Trump, don't put your hand on the Bible. There's anthrax or, some sort of chemical could be on the Bible. The guy's been almost killed twice now. Okay, so I'd be kind of leery of touching things too that weren't mine and that I didn't have any control over at the inauguration. So I don't know if it was a Secret Service thing, but likely it had more to do with the fact that Melania didn't get the Bible there in time prior to him swearing the oath or starting the oath. So Elon Musk, he saluted the crowd at the Capital One Arena. This was like a rally that preceded the inauguration, and he told the attendees, "My heart goes out to you." That's what he said. This was a direct quote from Elon Musk after he had done this gesture. He says, "My heart goes out to you." Okay, so this, using context clues, we know that this was not a Nazi salute. According to CNN, this may or may not be something you would see at a Nazi rally. I'm going to play this clip from CNN. This is nothing new. Okay, I'm going to get to how this was done here locally to a resident. His life was really upended because these leftists said that he was a Nazi and that he threw up a Nazi salute. The Washington Post, when they wrote their hit piece on me, they mentioned that we were Nazi sympathizers because we defended this guy. I was there at the school board meeting where this guy was accused of saluting or doing a Nazi salute, which was not at all the case. There were lefties in the back. They weren't even sitting with the rest of the school board attendees. And unfortunately, the school board at that time, and probably still, they were forcing people to wear masks, and this guy didn't want to wear a mask, and this was the most uncomfortable school board meeting, and this really changed my perspective on government. And it was really kind of heartbreaking to watch these school board members. They stopped the entire school board meeting, and they waited for this guy to put on a mask. And he finally puts on the mask, and he raises up his hand, and he says, "Fine, I give in." Right. And he throws up his hand, and he says, waves, and he goes, "Okay, I did it." And then they accused him, all of these leftists in the background who weren't even in really attendance of the school board meeting. They were in the back with their drums and their megaphones, and they were, being rowdy in the back, and they weren't actually attending the school board meeting. They just came there to be a distraction and to cause unrest. Then they shouted, "There's a Nazi, there's a Nazi, there's a Nazi." So this is straight up out of the leftist playbook. They do this all of the time. This is not just Elon Musk. This is you and me. They do this to us all of the time. The moment you raise your hand, they're going to accuse you of saluting Nazis. Take a look.
I just want to look at that salute that he gave again. Just if anybody missed it, we'll just show it again. He's just wrapped up here. You can hear the. All right, so we just showed that. We just showed that.
Right. It's worth salute. It was quick.
Yeah,
I think our viewers are smart and they can take a look at that. But it certainly was. It's not something that you typically see in American political rallies. Put it that way.
No, it was not something that you usually would see, and it was quick, as you point out. It was very quick, but it was It was in a moment of intensity for him as he came out dancing, and then he did that. He is a hero here.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you. It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured.
So he says, my heart goes out to you. Okay. He says this after he does this gesture. And yeah, to suggest that this is a Nazi salute or something you would see at a Nazi rally, absolutely disingenuous. I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. So ridiculous. I showed you earlier the picture. Actually, I'll just show you again one more time. This is Kamala Harris side by side with Elon Musk. You don't see CNN talking about this one here, folks. This is a picture that I'm going to share with you. There it is. Something similar to a Nazi salute. Kamala Harris. This picture looks as if she is providing a Nazi or doing a Nazi salute at one of her rallies, and side by side it looks almost identical to Elon Musk there. So CNN isn't covering the Kamala Harris picture, but rather they're covering Elon Musk. It's complete distraction. They want to distract Donald Trump and his cabinet from focusing on the key issues: economy, energy, reforming these three-letter agencies, and mass deportations. These are key issues. We've only got a couple of years until 2026, which is possible for the Democrats to gain the majority in the House, which would be terrible. So Donald Trump only has a couple of years to do these things that he needs to do. So he's got to focus on this. And they're going to do everything they can to take his focus off of that kind of stuff. So I want to also share with you this video. This was a video. Oh gosh, what year was this? 2021, man. They called his employer, harassed his family members, and my heart goes out to him still. I don't know where he's at, what he's done, but they contacted his job and tried to get him fired from his job by calling him a Nazi. This was not a Nazi salute in any kind of way. He was raising his hand, much like Elon Musk was, and you know, he was asked by the school board to put on his mask, and he refused to put on his mask a couple of times, and then eventually he caved, and then he waved at the school board when he had put his mask on. Okay, and they stopped the entire school board meeting, like stopped it for, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour. At some point there was like just nothing going on, and then the school board members left the meeting. And like everybody was just sitting there waiting for the meeting to resume, but they waited for people to put on their masks. Like straight up, I've never seen anything like this in my life, and it was so disturbing to be there in person. But I saw this all happen. The people who called him a Nazi were the leftists in the back, and they were way far back there. They weren't even really attending the school board meeting. They were in the back with their drums and their megaphones, and then they called this man a Nazi. So I'm going to play this video. This is his full statement after that had happened. But the reason why I'm playing this for you today is because I want you to know that this is nothing new, and they will do it to you. Okay, they did it to this man who's just a Bloomington resident who was attending a school board meeting that was, you know, focused on not masking the children, which we now know there was no need to mask the children. There was no need to mask adults. There was no need to mask anybody because that wasn't effective against the spread of COVID-19. So we know all of this now, and it's kind of ridiculous when, you know, we talk about these kinds of incidences today. But never forget, file this video under "Don't Forget Bloomington Normal, what they did to you." So we're gonna get that. We're gonna get to that, but also, I do want to get to Jake Tapper melting down. He was very upset about the tech bros attending the Trump inauguration. Now you have leftists coming out and they're saying that they're being censored and that the tech bros are all pro Donald Trump. and that this is dangerous. Biden would have never gotten as far as he did had it not been for big tech and mainstream media. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, prior to Joe Biden even getting in, what Mark Zuckerberg did, he censored a story that we now know would have swayed the election in favor of Donald Trump. Okay, he censored the Hunter Biden laptop story, Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, and had he not done that, Joe Biden would not have gotten as far as he did. He probably wouldn't have even become president without the help of big tech. Now they're sounding the alarm because, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are saying they're going to be somewhat objective now that President Donald Trump is in office. Hey, good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. Go ahead, find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Now, of course, nobody really believes any of this. I played for you the clip from CNN where they say that Elon Musk doing this gesture, this is not something you'd see at an American political rally. They suggested that it was a Nazi salute. They claimed it was a Nazi salute. How the hell are you going to say that this looks like a Nazi salute, especially considering the fact that he says, "My heart goes out to you" afterwards, and he goes, "My heart goes out to you," and he's quite literally pulling his heart out of his chest and throwing it towards the audience. He's in like the heat of the moment, okay? Number one. Number two, he's a little off, Elon Musk. He doesn't do exactly like body movements correctly. He's a little autistic, if I had to guess, right? Definitely social cues and body movements, not exactly normal. And you can tell in multiple interviews that he's done that there's, might be on the spectrum. He's a genius. How could you not be, right? So these viewers, on CNN, what little there are, they claim that the viewers are smart in this CNN clip, and it's kind of comical because they're incredibly stupid, actually, if you watch CNN regularly. Okay. The viewers that do exist on CNN, they're not smart people. And I don't think that voters are as dumb as as these CNN journalismers, as I like to call them, these journalists. I don't like to call them journalists. I like to call them journalismers. Respect the title journalist. Unfortunately, the dumbers, you're not as dumb as they are. Okay, they might have seen this and they might have said, "Oh, Nazi salute." You're not as dumb as that. Okay, you can use context clues. You can use your big girl cap, and you can use your big boy cap, and you can put your thinking cap on, and you can use the context clues, and the context clues will tell you that this was not a Nazi salute. I do have to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. We'll be right back at the top of the hour with this and more. I want to talk a little bit about the CBP1 app being shut down moments after Trump was sworn in. I'll be right back. All right, go ahead and smash that like button. You need to stop watching CNN. We're not going to take Reelin. He's in talks with them to purchase it. Yes, I'm also a stepmother of a military son. Take a breath, pray for our troops, as well as our president. We all need to come together and stop dividing. Yeah. Well, I think that it's important that we highlight the distractions that CNN is trying to use. For example, the Elon Musk Nazi salute. This is a total distraction from important issues that Donald Trump needs to be focusing on, and they're using this to try to distract him and members of his cabinet from doing the work that they need to do. So now Elon Musk, hopefully he doesn't, hopefully he realizes what this is. It's a distraction, and he won't respond to it, and he gets focused on his work with Doge. Doge, he is a member, technically, I guess, of Donald Trump's administration. Greenland, yes, you're exactly right. They're going to purchase it. Also, people need to understand how small Greenland actually is. I think it's like the size of a suburb, like 50,000 plus people. Let me actually look that up. Population of Greenland. It's very, very small. Like this is comparative, or yeah, 56,000 people. Like that's what we're talking about here. 56,000 people who are currently under the rule of Denmark, and they don't like being a territory of Denmark. Okay, so Donald Trump, of course, is good at making the deal, art of the deal. So he is going to try to purchase Greenland, and Greenland is actually probably all for that. There's been polls out there that say that Greenland residents, 56,000 of them. Now, like, just put this into perspective. That is like the size of a suburb, folks. That's smaller than normal, okay, than Bloomington normal. Okay, it's much smaller than just normal. I think normal's population is like 70,000. We're talking about like there's not even a whole ton of people there. Okay, so most likely the people of Greenland want to not be a territory of Denmark, but would benefit more from being a territory of the major world power here, the United States, the number one country in the world. I think that they'd benefit probably way more being under U.S. And it, most likely, honestly, you could probably frame it as we're taking them out from under the regime of Denmark, and we're going to probably give them more autonomy and more individuality as Greenland. They're going to be probably considered a territory. I don't think that they'd be made a state of the United States, but he's going to purchase it, and likely it's more so for national security. It's probably going to wind up being a military base, right? So the outrage about this, that Trump's a dictator trying to expand his borders, is just ridiculous. There's nobody in Greenland is against this. Okay, everybody wants the United States to be the presiding presiding country over Greenland. Okay. Yeah, it's for the land. It's very strategic, and Donald Trump is purchasing it. Now, the Panama Canal is very different. The Panama Canal is ours. It should have never been given away for pennies under Jimmy Carter. Number one. Number two, we have been screwed over, like Donald Trump said in his inaugural address, because Panama was supposed to be the one who controlled it, maintained it, but guess who actually controls it? A United States adversary, China. Not to mention, we've been shafted out of the fees, so we've been charged exorbitant fees, our ships specifically, so the United States is discriminated against when using the Panama Canal, and they charge us way more to use it. And then they turn around and then they use some of that money. And I think it's hilarious. The Panamanian president, he says, well, we maintain it. Okay. The only reason why you maintain it and you build on the infrastructure of the Panama Canal and you build off of it is because you're using our money to do it. You've charged us these exorbitant fees. So in a way, we have maintained it with our money. So it's ours. And they did not uphold their end of the deal, which means we take it back. That's simply what we gave it. Jimmy Carter gave it away to Panama, but they screwed us out of the deal. And Donald Trump, being good at making deals, is going to take it back. I think the Gulf of Mexico is already the Gulf of America. He signed an executive order declaring that. It makes sense. We have jurisdiction over half of the waters. So that makes sense. And not to mention, Donald Trump is kind of peeved off at the country of Mexico here because they've allowed they've allowed the illegal immigrants to pour over the border. They could have stopped it, but they didn't. And this was a way of saying, hey, we didn't forget that. We are not going to allow you to have the name of Gulf of Mexico. One, it doesn't even really make sense because we control over half of the jurisdiction in the waters. It's not like international waters where nobody has jurisdiction over it. We have jurisdiction over half of the water. So it only makes sense that it's called the Gulf of America. Brr, it's cold. -9 is what I'm looking at right now. I think yesterday we had temperatures reach lower than temperatures in Antarctica. Like Illinois was colder than Antarctica yesterday. So it's freezing. So stay warm out there. And we're going to be coming back talking a little bit more about Elon Musk. And then I'm going to get to the illegals having an emotional breakdown because they discovered that Donald Trump turned off their smartphone app, the CBP1 app. And I'll explain what that app is. It was a highlight in the debate with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. So we're going to be right back. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Hey, good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in. Brr, it's cold outside. -9 is what I'm seeing on my little digital temperature thermometer. Yesterday, our temperatures were cooler than Antarctica. So it was colder in Illinois than it was in Antarctica. It is quite literally an icebox here, folks. I'm freezing. I hope you stay warm out there today. Stay safe. Now, I do want to chat a little bit about Elon Musk. This is a distraction, but it's important that I note that it's a distraction so that way you're aware what the media is doing. And that's what we do here on the show. We equip you to be able to consume the news, in a way that you're prepared and you know what's going on. Okay, you know what's going on before your coworkers, before your friends, your family. You know what's going on. This is a distraction. It's all fake news, and you would think that these people would slow down the fake news because they're basically calling people Nazis for breathing the wrong way. Okay, and this is exactly why CNN has no viewers. This is exactly why they lost the election. In this clip, CNN clip, they said, our viewers are smart. They know what this looks like. It looks like something you'd see at a Nazi rally, right? And first, what viewers? You don't have any viewers. Second, CNN, whatever viewers you do have, I'd imagine that they're blue-haired and screaming at the sky liberals and definitely not smart. And voters, mainstream, like voters, actual voters, and the mainstream audience, they're not as dumb as you. They look at that, they use their context clues. Hey, he said, my heart goes out to you. He was gesturing to them. This was not a Nazi salute. And really, nobody believes this crap anymore. Nobody watched that and said to themselves, yeah, that's definitely worth reporting. That's definitely newsworthy. Come on. What's newsworthy is Joe Biden preemptively pardoning people. And then the same Joe Biden administration, DOJ, saying that if the J6ers accept a pardon, that means that they're guilty. That's what the DOJ said. So that means if Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Mark Milley, Tony Fauci, if they accept pardons, that must mean that they're guilty as well. Okay, so anyone with an IQ above 69 and below wouldn't even look at this and remotely think that this gesture had anything to do with Nazism, would have anything to do with racism, or whatever they say it is. It's just so crazy. And I think that these people ought to slow down because clearly they've got no viewers and the election did not go their way. You'd think that they would slow down with all of this. This is why they lost the election. The Democrats lost the election. The media is just straight up, CNN is just straight up a PR firm for the Democrats, and they're doing a sucky job at it. Take a listen to this guy. He was a Bloomington resident, and he was at a school board meeting. This was in 2021. So they told him to keep putting on his mask at the school board meeting, and he refused to do it a couple of times, but eventually he caved, and then he made a wave or a gesture towards the school board saying that he had actually put his mask on. Take a listen to this guy kind of explain. This was his statement after you had a bunch of leftists come out and say that he did a Nazi salute. Here we go.
Shortly after the meeting started, the president of the school board made an announcement that anybody on school property needed to be wearing a mask. My wife and I were sitting there without a mask, so I got a little nervous. It seemed like she was looking at me and singling me out. So I've been taught to respect authority. I quickly grabbed a mask and put it on, and I raised my hand to her to acknowledge to her, yeah, I'm the one that didn't have it, and I'm good to go now, so they could continue. And I just tried to get out of the spotlight. I put my head down and let everything go on. And then next thing I hear from behind, there's people yelling Nazi signal, Nazi symbols. What, are you going to let him make those? I'm like, I was mortified. So I didn't know how to react. I sat there. I don't want to confront mobs or agitate anything. So I just sat there and let things pass. People now labeling me as a racist, white supremacist, Nazi, neo-Nazi, that I should burn in hell. And apparently they're even trying to get me fired now. So I just felt that I need to set that record straight of what actually happened. I absolutely in no way condone any kind of racism, white supremacy, anything like that. I think I denounce any kind of hatred whatsoever. I think that is absolutely wrong. Any kind of hate. I just wanted to bring a little bit of truth to light to what actually happened. So thank you for listening. Shortly.
So I wanted to bring that up because it's so important that I share with you that this is not anything new, and they will do it to you. They say that they do it to Elon Musk and they'll do it to President Donald Trump, but they will do it to you. Unit 5 did it to this man, and clearly he was distraught. They were contacting his job, trying to get him fired. That's what leftists do too. That's out of their playbook as well. But yeah, this was really tragic, very sad. And it's just straight up out of the leftist playbook. They orchestrate the outrage. It's deranged and it's delusional. And they just recycle the same plays from the same playbook. I've got to shift gears here. Let's talk about CNN. Jake Tapper melting down over the tech bros attending the Trump inauguration. Now, we know that TikTok CEO was there, Shuzu Chi or Shuzi Chi, I don't know. The TikTok CEO was there, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, right? They were all there. Now, Biden wouldn't have gotten as far as he did had it not been for big tech and the mainstream media. Okay, Joe Biden would not have gotten as far as he did had not there been this cover-up of his senile cognitive decline. There was a cover-up, a massive cover-up, and had it not been for the media, he wouldn't have become president. Mark Zuckerberg, we know he censored Americans via the COVID-19 information, but he also censored the story, the Hunter Biden laptop story, which would have put Donald Trump over the edge with Joe Biden in that race in 2020. So election was stolen, definitely, by the tech bro, Mark Zuckerberg. But also, you've got CNN Jake Tapper here, and he never had a problem with censoring individuals or misinformation, but now he's sounding the alarm with these tech bros because America is about to enter an era of deepfakes and all sorts of misinformation, according to Jake Tapper. But look, folks, really what's going to wind up happening, and what Mark Zuckerberg has said, which I don't even really believe that he is going to do this, they just said that, hey, we're going to be more objective when it comes to adding these community notes. We're not going to pull people off of platforms. We're not going to throw people in Facebook jail. And they're just going to be more objective and not subjective when reviewing people's posts. Okay, so CNN Jake Tapper having a complete meltdown here because the heads of major social media and tech companies were at the Trump inauguration. And now you have leftists, like I've seen my friends, they're saying that they're, my friend, I would say leftist friends of mine, they're saying that they're being throttled on social media. And to that, I say good. That might actually be a hot take, but I really don't care because that's the only way we're going to even the scales out here, folks, because conservatives lost money. They lost their ability to speak for 4 years. And the only way that this is made up is by censoring the leftists, righting some wrongs here with, evening the scales, right? That's what I think. I think, sure, yeah, censor the leftist. Now you get a taste of your own medicine, although that's not what is happening, okay? Now they're just being more objective. There's community notes rather than fact checkers on Facebook. Twitter was bought by Elon Musk, and they have community notes. Anybody, a leftist, can post anything they want, and somebody on the right, somebody right-wing, can post whatever they want on Twitter. That's what a platform is supposed to be. They're not a publisher under Section 230. Platforms are not supposed to be arbiters of the truth and take things down or keep certain things up. That's the role of a publisher. take a listen to CNN, Jake Tapper. Here we go.
Yeah, if I could just, before I throw it to Anderson, just bring back that photograph of the tech bros inside St. John's Church. It's just one other thing I want to show. So we see Mark Zuckerberg on the left there with the curly hair, CEO of Meta. Tim Cook, his face is blocked, but he has the white hair, CEO of Apple. Jeff Bezos on the right there, the bald gentleman looking to his right, CEO of Amazon. The gentleman behind Mark Zuckerberg is Sundar Pichai. He's the CEO of Google. And Anderson, between those four people, plus Elon Musk from Twitter or X, those five people that I just mentioned, the four in the photograph and also Elon Musk, control so much of the information that we receive. So much is in their hands when it comes to ascertaining, monitoring, or refusing to monitor what is real, what is not real. And we're about to enter an era of deep fakes and all sorts of misinformation. And the degree to which those five gentlemen play a role or do not play a role will be pivotal in terms of where the American people are 4 years from now, in terms of understanding what is true and what is false.
You're also you said we, you're not just talking about we, the United States. You're talking about the world. All human beings on the planet. They control access to information. They're the gatekeepers in many ways to information for the entire planet. Van, you had some thoughts.
Okay, so these people are totally disingenuous. People like Jake Tapper have been proven to be largely irrelevant, as evident by the recent election results. Now, I don't recall him sounding the alarm when Zuckerberg censored Americans over COVID and misinformation. Okay, that was actually more correct than what the experts were spouting out at the time. And the experts were pretending to know about masks and how they stopped the spread of COVID. And there was actually no study that suggested that social distancing, 6 feet social distancing, stopped the spread of COVID. There's no science to back that up, and people who were spreading so-called COVID misinformation actually had more correct. Ivermectin, monoclonal antibodies, hydroxychloroquine, all of this had been proven later on to be more effective against the spread of COVID-19, vitamin D, things like that. And I don't recall him having a problem, Jake Tapper, with Mark Zuckerberg helping fund the 2020 election, and which was probably because he was one of the biggest contributing factors to the left winning. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg was the biggest contributing. I would go as far as to say he's the biggest reason why Joe Biden won the 2020 election. He stole it, one, by censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story. Number two, he went out there and he helped fund the 2020 election in Joe Biden's favor, really. When the left wins elections, censorship is nothing but getting to the truth and monitoring misinformation. But when they lose elections, they sound off alarms about big tech overlords having too much power. Okay, they didn't. And the only reason why Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Apple, the CEO of Google were there, the only reason why they are there is because that is in the best interest of their companies. They are freaking out right now because they know that they acted illegally during the pandemic, and they were acting illegally during the 2020 election, and they were censoring people, and they were censoring specific stories. And they don't want to see consequences to their actions. Okay, that's why they're trying to kiss Trump's rear. Okay, they're trying to kiss Trump's rear because they want to do what's best for their company. If they go to prison, which could be because they weren't operating within, Section 230, at least Mark Zuckerberg, and there were laws broken. If that is not good for their company, if they go to prison or if they're held accountable for their actions over the course of these 4 years. I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. We're going to get to AOC here in just a second. And like I said, honestly, I'm good with censoring leftists because I think that that's honestly the only way that things are even. Okay, we're talking about censoring people and deplatforming people and loss of revenue. Conservative pundits, right? Conservative YouTubers, they were demonetized. Okay, and you went after their livelihood by censoring them or putting them in Facebook jail. You went after their livelihood. I was thrown off TikTok multiple times because I was wearing a Trump hat in my profile picture. Like, that was the reason they gave. And I'm honestly okay with censoring leftists. That's not really what's happening. You can't make up this level of insanity. Everyone knows that conservatives are overwhelmingly shadow banned and censored. And just because Jeff Bezos and the Apple CEO and Mark Zuckerberg were all there does not mean that they are censoring leftists and that they are friends of Donald Trump. Okay, they were there for one reason and one reason only: to make themselves look good in front of Trump and to kiss his butt, because that's what's good for their companies. These men want to make money. They can't make money from sitting inside a jail cell. I hope that the Trump team doesn't let them get away with censoring Americans for 4+ years. And the only reason why the left has a problem now is because these companies are at least trying to pretend. Okay, they're not even really doing it to be objective. I think that they're pretending to be objective so that way Donald Trump doesn't come after them. Okay, so now the leftists are upset because these companies are pretending that they're going to try to be objective here. Now, AOC here, she's crying and she's, fearful how much of effect this is going to have on the younger generation. The last thing that she needs is for Gen Z to believe that Donald Trump saved TikTok. Nonetheless, that's a personal problem for you, AOC. Okay, the left needs to accept that they no longer have a monopoly on the information that they once had, and that these tech bros, Jeff Bezos, Apple CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, they are going to at least pretend to be objective and to not censor information, conservative information, or shadow ban conservatives while Trump is president, because they don't want to be thrown in jail, because it's illegal. You can't do those kinds of things. And they don't want to see consequences to their actions. So they're going to do whatever they can to appear objective. And if that means sitting at the inauguration or attending Donald Trump's inauguration, that means attending Donald Trump's inauguration. Okay. I am going to get to the CBP1 app. This literally was shut down day one within minutes of him taking the office or swearing the oath and taking office. Subsequently, officers have taken control. He declared a national emergency at the southern border. Now you have officers taking control of the open border, and I'm going to get to some illegal immigrants. They're crying over their CBP1 app being shut down. Now what it was like easy for you to make an appointment. You didn't really even have to send in a picture of yourself, any photo identification. Like, you could literally just upload a photo of just anybody and claim that that was you, and seek asylum. Okay, so that was all it took for you to be considered an asylum seeker. They changed the definition of asylum seeker with this CBP1 app. If you had applied or made an appointment, then apparently you're an asylum seeker, which, is not the definition under the law. An asylum seeker is somebody who goes through a certain process and comes to the country from a country that is, war-torn, or experiencing like political persecutions or prosecutions, or if you're living in a country and it's not safe and you come to the United States and that's the first country you wind up in, then you can seek asylum. You can't go to Mexico and then come through the southern border. That's not seeking asylum. Hey, good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in this morning. I do want to get to Mark Zuckerberg, how he, didn't or he censored Americans over the COVID misinformation. And, back then, all of the COVID misinformation was actually more spot on than what the experts were coming up with. The 6 feet social distancing and the masking was not nearly as effective as what we were talking about on social media at the time, but was censored and we were thrown in Facebook jail. Ivermectin, monoclonal antibodies, hydrochloroquine, all of these great things. So I don't recall Jake Tapper having an issue with Mark Zuckerberg censoring people back then, or censoring, the Hunter Biden laptop story, subsequently stealing the election for Joe Biden, and, helping fund the 2020 election, which was probably one of the biggest contributors to the left winning in 2020, Mark Zuckerberg. I don't think that, Jake Tapper made any bones about that or was upset about that. But now he's upset because guess what? The left lost. Now, when left loses the election, then they start to sound the alarm over the tech overlords having too much power. But when they're winning and when they're censoring conservatives, they don't care really all that much. In fact, they encourage it because they are monitoring misinformation. Take a listen to AOC here. She's real concerned about the tech bros having too much power.
Now, I want you all to put all the pieces together, because what this effectively means is that every social media platform, mass social media platform in the United States, has been taken over by the right wing, with the exception of Blue Sky, but Blue Sky is still very small, relatively. So
No, it's still really, really small. Not relatively. It's just really, really, really small.
I say put the pieces together. Elon Musk took over Twitter. And there's open reporting. It's pretty obvious as well that they have manipulated the algorithms. They've artificially manipulated the algorithms to boost right-wing content on X and to amplify harassment. Then you have Meta. So you have Mark Zuckerberg, and I know we're on Instagram right now, saying that they're basically also bending the knee to Trump with their changes to fact checking, regardless on how effective that was in the first place. It's an open signal. And now TikTok is now saying, hey, we are agreeing, we will use our push notification system for all 170 million American users to promote Donald Trump.
No. Okay, so what she's talking about here, we know that TikTok was temporarily suspended, it was banned. Okay, one morning I woke up, my TikTok app didn't work, and it said that, hey, thanks for your patience. We're working with President Donald Trump on getting TikTok back in the U.S. What Donald Trump did, he negotiated a deal. He said, hey, for the ban, we're going to do a 90-day suspension of the ban, which I don't agree with. I think that we should just ban TikTok. What they've done, the Supreme Court, you can't get the Supreme Court to unanimously agree on anything, which tells me all I really need to know. They unanimously agreed that it's okay to ban TikTok in the United States. You can't get the Supreme Court to do that on anything. The fact that they did tells me all I really need to know is that it must be really bad. They must be taking your information and harvesting it. And they're our adversary, China. Okay, this is China taking Americans' information and harvesting it. And that is a no-go. And it was a no-go for all of the Supreme Court members. Okay, so that tells me that this is really, really bad. So I don't agree with this deal that Trump made. But then again, I am not President Donald Trump, and I'm not an expert in a deal with a foreign adversary. So he must know what he's doing. He's got this 90-day suspension on this ban. Pretty much this 90 days, after the 90-day suspension, they have to prove that there is an American stake in TikTok, and then they have to stop with the whole harvesting Americans' information. And there has to be some kind of U.S. ownership in TikTok. That's what Donald Trump had negotiated with the CEO of TikTok, and that's why they put up this message. It said, hey, thank you for your patience and your support. President Trump, when he's, president again, we're working out a deal with him. And after TikTok was banned, Donald Trump did work out a suspension of the ban temporarily, and they have 90 days to get the U.S. involved in TikTok, so that way it's not just our foreign adversaries gathering our information. Okay, there has to be some sort of U.S. stake in it. So that's TikTok. But AOC here, her talking about this and crying and how she's fearful about how, this is going to have an effect on, really what she's worried about is how this is going to have an effect on Gen Z. The last thing she needs is Gen Z thinking that Donald Trump saved TikTok, which he did. He saved TikTok. I'd imagine in 90 days, we're going to have a U.S. stake in it and it's going to be okay. Now, I don't agree with that. I think that they should have upheld the ban for 90 days and given them 90 days with it being banned, and they should not have this 90-day window here to harvest our information and risk our national security. But Donald Trump must know way more than I do about the whole situation, so he came to this deal, art of the deal, right, making a deal with people. Nonetheless, this is a personal problem for AOC. She doesn't like that we now have at least the tech bros pretending that they're going to try to be objective. Okay, the only reason why they have problems with tech bros now is because these companies are pretending to be objective. And why are they pretending to be objective here and be down the middle and not censor people anymore? It's because they fear Donald Trump and they fear having to go through consequences for their actions for the last, well, let's just say 8 years. I think it's 8 years, honestly, since Donald Trump has been president. 2016, once he was president in 2016, they've been censoring conservatives and overwhelmingly shadow banning conservatives. Okay, so yeah, I and if you want my true opinion, yeah, let's censor the leftists. I'd be okay with that for a little while, at least for a couple of months, few months. Let's demonetize the leftists. Let's see how they like it. They went after people's livelihoods and their pursuit of happiness, conservatives, and they put them in Facebook jail and they shut them up. In a country that believes in free speech, okay? And I think that the only way to right that wrong would be to, you don't get to talk for a little while, lefty. All right. Let me shift gears. I want to talk about the CBP1 app. The CBP1 app, the migrants, they're having a breakdown at the border. They assumed Trump was joking, I guess, when he said that he intended to issue a national emergency on day one. And I don't think the guy could have been more clear that he wasn't going to allow foreign nationals to enter into this country illegally through illegal ports of entry. Subsequently, we now have officers, after Donald Trump declared a national emergency in his inaugural address, he said, hey, we're going to do a national emergency at the southern border. Foreign nationals can't comprehend this. They can't comprehend that this sanity is being restored. So we're going to be right back. I got to take a quick break, but I'm going to take you to the port of entry in downtown El Paso. It's temporarily closed after Trump's swearing in ceremony, the inauguration. He had declared a national emergency at the border, and he is already reinstated remain in Mexico policy, and he's ending catch and release. So there's already so much going on with the Donald Trump presidency. He's done so much already, and it's only been one day. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Hey, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. We are going to be coming back talking about the CBP1 app and how that was shut down moments after Donald Trump was sworn in. I did talk with you about preemptive pardons, and I want to make sure I get this right, actually. Joe Biden did issue several preemptive pardons. Mark Milley, Liz Cheney, members of his family, the entire Biden family. Donald Trump did not do this. Now, back then, Chuck Schumer, he got out on the Senate floor and he said that this would be a gross abuse of presidential pardon authority. And I think it's hilarious that Chuck Schumer said that back then. Donald Trump did not preemptively pardon anybody. He did pardon Steve Bannon. Trump pardoned his former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, who had been indicted for fraud related to a fundraising campaign for a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border. Bannon was pardoned before trial, preventing a potential conviction. Okay, so he wasn't like he was already indicted for this. Okay, so he pardoned him of that crime prior to, I guess, the conviction. But that's not really a preemptive pardon. We're talking about people here, Tony Fauci, Liz Cheney, Mark Milley. They haven't been indicted yet. Okay, so we're talking about people we don't even possibly know. We have no idea what kind of crimes that they committed, but there is no way to actually go after them because it's a preemptive, sweeping pardon of any crime, right? So preemptive pardon, hey, any crime that you would have, like if Liz Cheney got drunk and was in a drunk driving incident and killed somebody, okay, it's a preemptive pardon. It's a sweeping preemptive pardon for that kind of stuff. So any kind of crimes that she's committed prior to January 1st or January 20th, I think is when he issued the pardons that morning prior to Donald Trump being sworn in, or that Sunday on the 11th hour. Okay, we had Joe Biden issuing these pardons. This is big news. Donald Trump did not do anything of the sort. Now, Trump did try, and there was speculation that he was going to preemptively pardon, which is within your presidential authority. Okay, we know that now because of Joe Biden, and the media says, oh, he can do this, he can do this. He was going to preemptively pardon Rudy Giuliani, and he didn't. And Steve Bannon was pardoned, but like I said, he wasn't convicted, but he was already indicted, and they were charging him with this campaign, fundraising campaign, which was absolutely nothing, and it was completely political, going after Steve Bannon for this fundraiser that he made for the U.S.-Mexico border wall. Okay, so there were a couple of other people he issued pardons for, but they had already been indicted and charged and convicted of crimes. Okay. So Trump issued these pardons not preemptively. Okay. Really, this was all pardons that were given after they were indicted or charged. And this was not the case with Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger-Tony, and Mark Milley. Hey, good morning. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. I did want to look this up and provide you the details. Trump did not issue any kind of preemptive pardons. Now, there was talk that he was going to do it for him and his family and Rudy Giuliani, his personal attorney, because there was talks about ongoing investigations and then possibly being investigated. Now, we know that that didn't happen because Rudy Giuliani, we know that Donald Trump and his family have been subject to political persecution, politically motivated prosecution. So Donald Trump did issue pardons for people who were already indicted, already convicted, and already charged with things. A couple of people. So Steve Bannon was one of them. He was a former chief strategist who had been indicted for fraud related to a campaign fundraiser for the U.S.-Mexico border wall, which was so stupid. It was definitely politically motivated. The people who went after Steve Bannon for this, Bannon was pardoned before trial, so he wasn't actually convicted and then pardoned, but he was indicted and he was charged with these crimes, and Trump pardoned him. So, like I said, folks, Joe Biden pardoning his entire family, by the way, the entire Biden family, Liz Cheney, Tony, Mark Milley, Adam Kinzinger, all of these people, preemptively pardoning them before they're even indicted, before we even possibly know what kind of crimes they were charged with or could be charged with. He gave them just a blanket pardon, and that's a shame. It's a shame. And Chuck Schumer, back then, when Donald Trump was thinking about preemptively pardoning Rudy Giuliani, Chuck Schumer said, "Oh, that would be a gross abuse of his presidential pardoning authority." Yeah, okay. I'd love to see you say the same thing about your boy Joe Biden here, dude. So before I took the break, I was telling you a little bit about the CPP-1 app. I want to get this clip out there. This is the border. It's like right by a legal port of entry. They've shut it down, so all legal, I guess, under a national emergency at the southern border, they shut down temporarily the legal ports of entry as well, which needs to be done. We need to stop the bleeding. And Trump, he was very, very clear. He said day one, we're going to stop the bleeding. We're going to stop the illegal immigration, and we're going to stop it all. And we're going to take control of our border, and we're going to close it down. So officers have taken control of this once open border, and foreign nationals, they can't comprehend the sanity that has been restored here in America. Take a listen to this. Here we go. This is down in El Paso.
Beyond this point will result in the arrest, prosecution, and possible application of force. Advertencia. Esta es una área restringida federal. Fuera de los límites de personal no autorizado. La entrada o el movimiento no autorizado más allá de este punto.
So any movement into this legal port of entry, non-authorized movement beyond this point, will lead to detention and processing. So today is just filled with good wins. This, of course, includes Joe Biden's creepy CBP-1 app. It's no longer available, and those appointments have been canceled for asylum seekers. So or so-called asylum seekers. I don't really want to call them asylum seekers, people who use the CBP-1 app. Really what this was, you could just, as soon as you get into the country, as long as you make an appointment, which you're not really obligated to go to, if you make an appointment with federal authorities or with the border patrol, if you make an appointment, then you're considered an asylum seeker, and you're allowed into the country just through this like one little tiny phone app, the CBP-1 app. And it's really creepy because you don't really need to put like, you can upload any kind of picture. You don't need to put like your own like name. There's no proof of identification or anything. So it was really, really creepy, and that's been canceled. This app, it was shut down within moments of President Donald Trump being sworn in. Real quick aside, I want to talk about another big win, and then I'll get back to the illegal immigration. But a quick aside, another good win for the MAGA movement, restoring American sovereignty over our health. Take a listen to this. Here we go.
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization.
Ooh, that's a big one.
So I don't know if you heard it there. So they're handing him executive orders. Like I said, he signed about 200 of them yesterday. They're handing him executive orders, and Donald Trump goes, "What's this one?" And he says, "Well, we're withdrawing from the World Health Organization." And Donald Trump goes, "Ooh," he goes, "That's a big one." I'm so glad that Donald Trump is back. Remember when Elon Musk said that Bill Gates was terrified that Trump was going to win because he was going to release the Epstein client list. And that's why, Bill Gates actually donated $50 million to Kamala Harris. So major wins coming, even more wins are coming, I think. And I'm so glad that we withdrew from the World Health Organization. Now, I want to get back to the CBP-1 app. According to CBS, the CBP-1 app that allowed migrants to submit in advance information and schedule appointments at 8 ports of entry to request asylum is no longer available, CBP announced. So the CBP said the move took effect at noon on Monday as President Donald Trump was sworn in. So within seconds of him being sworn in, this app was shut down. Following the ceremony, Trump announced that he was declaring a national emergency at the border, reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy, and he ended catch and release. So, as you can imagine, many foreign nationals did not handle this news very well. They woke up one morning and they were like, "My CBP1 app, it doesn't work," and this essentially gave them like amnesty, or like it gave them access to the country and gave them this title of asylum seeker. And we know that asylum seekers, they're actually like, you have to go to a legal port of entry, you have to fill out an application, you have to describe what happened in your country, you have to come from that country. You can't go to Mexico and then come to the United States from that country. So, for example, like say Venezuela, Romania, if you go to the country of Mexico, you have to seek asylum there. Okay, or you have to come to the United States legal port of entry and seek asylum there. You can't come through the southern border through an illegal port of entry. And like I said, as you can imagine, the foreign nationals did not handle this news very well. I am going to play this clip for you. This is kind of hilarious. This woman is bawling her eyes out. And I don't know about you folks, but a lot of these people at the southern border, they've got like stuffed animals. They've got like nicer clothes than I would wear, like North Face jackets. They've got nice hats and gloves on. And this woman, of course, makes a scene, this foreign national, because they shut down the border. Here we go. I'm sorry, honey, but those crocodile tears are just not effective, and they won't be for at least 4 more years. Donald Trump is going to come in, fix this all up. Now, I get this. I'm not unsympathetic. I don't know what her situation is. She doesn't look like she's, in any kind of third world poverty here. Okay, the video, she doesn't look poor. She doesn't look desperate. She doesn't look like she's in need of help. She has better clothes than I'm wearing. But that's neither here nor there. I don't really know it's unclear what her motives are. But what I can say is that people who throw temper tantrums don't get very far in life here in America. Okay, just because you're crying, you're not going to get very far with that. Okay, just go through a legal port of entry and do it the legal way. Is that so hard to ask? Anyway, it's finally time to make America great again, and soon these foreign nationals are going to realize that the easier life, the soon they realize that America is going to be great, and there is a way to go about this, the legal port of entry, and seek asylum that way. Your life is going to be easier. Okay, now I've talked to illegal immigrants, and the way they described illegally entering the country, it's terrifying. They had to pay $3,000 a head. So it was this husband, wife, and little kid. And they had to pay this guy with big tattoos and a gun strapped to his chest to get them close to the border. And then they had to, cross the border. Then they had to try to get a van. Then they're panhandling here in the United States. Your life is going to be easier if America is made great again. Okay. And as always, my recommendation is stay in your country and make your country great. I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, it's so cold outside. Yes, yesterday, I guess Illinois was colder than Antarctica, so that's interesting. I do want to let you all know that the Clinton Unit School District number 15 is closed today due to weather. Calvary Christian Academy schools canceled today. Calvary Christian Academy closed Tuesday, January 21st. There's going to be a decision made for Calvary Christian Academy made after school practices and games by 2 p.m. So there will be a decision made there. So for all of our cancellations, closures, delays, and if you need to report one, head to cities929.com. But Clinton School District, they canceled, and Calvary Christian did as well. Go ahead and find me on social media, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Real quick, I want to talk a little bit about the preemptive pardons. I actually just saw this, came across the desk this morning. I saw that that President Donald Trump, he just issued an executive order ending birthright citizenship, which is exactly constitutional. If you take a look at the 14th Amendment, it talks about birthright citizenship, and this is exactly what needed to be done. You can't just come here and have anchor babies, and this executive order stops that, where, individuals come over the border, they have a baby, and they try to anchor themselves with their baby with the birthright citizenship. And he put an end to birthright citizenship, which is huge. Real quick about the preemptive pardons. Like I said, Donald Trump did not preemptively pardon anybody. He pardoned individuals that did not see a conviction. But he did, or Joe Biden did, preemptive pardons. And real quick, I wanted to talk about the Justice Department. They sent a message out to January 6 defendants, and they said, "Hey, accepting a pardon from Donald Trump is a confession of guilt." So Liz Cheney, Mark Milley, Anthony Fauci, Adam Kinzinger, if they accept these pardons, is that a confession of guilt? So here's what the federal prosecutors argued in the January 6th case before the U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols. They said a pardon at some unspecified date of the future, Donald Trump is expected to pardon the January 6ers, would not unring the bell of conviction. In fact, quite the opposite. The defendant would first have to accept the pardon, which necessitates a confession of guilt. So if Tony Fauci, the Biden family, if they all accept this pardon, then that means they're confessing to guilt. According to the DOJ's own logic, Joe Biden's DOJ's own logic, they would be confessing to guilt because of the preemptive pardon. So like I said, the lack of self-awareness here is incredible. Joe Biden said, "I believe in the rule of law, and I'm optimistic that the strength of our legal institutions will ultimately prevail over politics, but these are exceptional circumstances, and I cannot in good conscience do nothing when it comes to Liz Cheney, Mark Milley, and Anthony Fauci." So that is, and he is the one who mocked the legal system. He says that he's not very optimistic, or he's optimistic. The doubt that you have in the legal system is caused by you, because you're the one who politically motivated, prosecuted Donald Trump. All right, you guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye. Love you. Stay warm out there. It's freezing. -9 is what I've got. So wear your gloves, wear your hats, and come back tomorrow morning, bright and early at 6 a.m. Bye-bye. I love you. Be blessed.